Officially a working girl again, and so I wanted to share a little bit of insight and information around my career strategy in order to remain competitive in this, really challenging job market. I was laid off, but I was able to get a new job, and also pivoting so you can continue to make more money, negotiate higher titles, etc. I'm a huge advocate of pivoting your career, especially when you get to the point of diminishing returns or there's very little ROI, because every time you pivot your career, you are going to get more money, usually a 30% increase. And also you have maximum leverage in terms of negotiating. You get to try a bunch of different things. It makes you a competitive candidate to pivot your career when it makes sense. So here's my career strategy that I deployed. I didn't realize I had deployed this career strategy, but here's what I utilized in order to make me a really competitive candidate since I graduated college. So my personal career strategy has always been brand, technical, brand, technical, brand, technical, and I'll go through what that means. Brands are the legitimizers on your resume. These are like the investment banks, the Metas, the FANG companies, all of those like big brands, those are part of your career strategy. The second part are like the startups, the nonprofits, where it is usually under-resourced, but you're gonna build your technical skill set. So when I was an undergrad, I worked at Morgan Stanley Smith Barney. That was a big brand. It's a bulge bracket bank. I was in their asset management division. It wasn't like I didn't like it, but it wasn't the most challenging job, but it helped legitimize me after college to get another role. The role after I worked in banking was at a nonprofit that helps students of color get into banking and private equity. This was at a nonprofit, so I was highly under-resourced. I was basically doing everything. I was the coordinator, the program manager, the lead. An under-resourced place, you build a breadth of technical skills. Because of that experience, that then gave me the technical expertise to go work at Google. So when I was interviewing for Google, they would throw a bunch of things at me and say, have you done this? And I would say, I've done that times 10. So while working at Google, Google is, once again, one of those legitimizer brand companies on your resume. But by time at Google, it wasn't really hard. And I don't know a lot of people who say working at Google, Meta, Netflix, like a lot of those FANG companies, I don't know a lot of people who say it's ever very hard to work there. Like, it's not gonna be the most technical or like skills building experience that you'll have, at least for the people that I've spoken to. But what working at a place like Google did was it gave me corporate soft skills. So I learned things like negotiating with your manager, giving your manager upward feedback, managing a really large budget, navigating bureaucracy or like corporate politics. All of that stuff you learn at a really large organization. I also learned how large companies operate. Like, when you have $1 million budget to do something, what are some of the programs, initiatives that they'll do that you can then take to other roles as well, maybe at a smaller scale. So you really get to see the breadth of what you can do at some of these large organizations. And you also sort of build those like finesse corporate skills at these brand organizations, but you might not build the technical prowess. And after working at Google, I worked at a startup, and the startup was turned up. It was super crazy. It was chaos. But I was the head of the department. I was also the feet. I was the only person in that role. But a few good things come out of startups, which I will always advocate everyone should do a startup stint. If you want a leadership position, I was not going to be the head of diversity at Google at 28. Let's be for real. I wasn't going to be that at Amazon, Netflix, anywhere. That's a really hard position. You need a lot of tenure to do that. But you can get those experiences at a startup. They're just smaller, they're less resourced. So I was able to negotiate a head of diversity title at a startup at a much younger age than I would have been able to do. It would have taken me 20 plus years to get that title at a place like Google. So one, it's great for resume building in terms of leadership capacity. I also ended up having a direct report, so I was managing like a small team. So having that leadership opportunity comes at a startup. Additionally, you get that technical skill set. I was doing everything in that role. The amount of technical prowess that I learned gave me so much confidence stepping into this role. So working at a startup will give you so much technical skill set, or just a place that's very under-resourced will give you a technical skill set. So now I'm at a larger organization, another brand organization, but at a leadership title because I was able to get that leadership title at my startup. So I'll always advocate for, as you're sort of mapping your career, look between brand and technical, brand and technical. If you find that you're over-indexing in too many like technical experiences, maybe throw in a really nice brand experience. So if you're always working at these really big brands, but you don't necessarily feel like you're competitive in the job market, maybe take a year off and either get your MBA or a master's degree, which may or may not help. But honestly, working at a startup or a nonprofit or a smaller company where you really have that breadth of technical experience, I would say was my career strategy that helped a lot.